Here we have a quadratic function, and how do I know it's a quadratic function? Because it has x to the power of 2. And we are told that we have to find coordinates, meaning x and y, that's what coordinate mean, of the points where this our function is crossing the x-axis. What does that mean? So when I have my quadratic function is a U-shape, and it is going to cut the x-axis very often at 2 places. Now, those places are called roots of quadratic, well, not only quadratic equation, any equation, they are called roots. So that's what we are looking for. How do we do that with quadratic equation? Here they are saying, well, replace that f of x, so replace this value here with 0. So that means I have x to the power of 2 minus x minus 2 equals 0. How do I solve that? Let's not forget letter to the power of 2. Doesn't matter what area of maths you are working with. What do you think about minus b formula, isn't it? Because that's usually the solution. Because minus b formula, that's what it does. It finds the roots of quadratic equation. So we go to our table, we write down, we find our minus b formula, we write it down. And the next thing, we have to identify what is A, B, and C in our particular equation. So A is what? A is a number that stands beside x to the power of 2. In our case, there is no number beside x. But if there is no number, what do we have? 1. So our value of A will be 1. And then B is a number that stands beside x. And again, what value stands beside x? We don't have a number, we have minus. That means is minus 1. So our B is going to be minus 1. And C is the number that doesn't have x beside it. In our case, is going to be minus 2. Let's not forget that that minus always goes with the number. So now that we identify A, B, and C, and let's write it, C is minus 2, we're going to just replace those numbers, these letters with numbers. So minus B, we are saying minus 1, so minus 1, don't get caught, it should be minus minus 1, then plus minus, because we're going to work on 2 version, again B, so again minus 1 to the power of 2 minus 4 multiplied by A, which is 1, multiplied by C, which is minus 2, and everything divided by 2 multiplied by A, which is 1. Now, 2 things, when you are putting it in the calculator, make sure you start with the fraction line, because overall, it is a fraction we are dealing with. And second thing, make sure that that negative number here that is taken to the power of 2 is in the bracket. Otherwise, your calculator will say an error very often. And then, so we put one version with plus, one version with minus, and we get 2 and minus 2. So what are the coordinates? Let's not forget, we have to give x and y, that's the coordinate. So in the case of the roots, x every time will be different. But what will be the value of y? Always 0. So that means my 2 coordinates is 2 and 0 and minus 1 and 0. Minus b formula, our very good friend, we're going to be using it a lot, so we need to know how to use that very well.